My friend Colin Plume from Noble Gold Investments just released his new book, Silver is the New Oil, and it says if you don't own silver yet, you're already behind. Colin says that as demand for technology, energy, and industry soars, silver's value is set to surge. The question is, are you ready to profit? This book reveals why silver is the most underrated asset today and how to invest before the world catches on. I've read Silver is the New Oil, and you should too. Get it now, available on Amazon. Joining us now is the great senator from the state of Florida, Senator Rick Scott. Senator, thank you so much for taking the time. Great to see you. There's been so much news here, but there hasn't been enough coverage, in my opinion, about President Trump releasing the fiscal year 26 discretionary budget request to Congress. What is in it? And please take some time to educate our audience on it. Thank you, Senator.
Well, Charlie, let's think about why President Trump won. He won because he said he was going to secure the border. He's done that. Also said he's going to focus on inflation. The only way we get inflation under control is to stop this wasteful spending. That's what he's doing right now. This is only part of the budget he's ultimately going to put out, but he's got a great team that's focused on how do we get rid of this wasteful spending. Now, think about it. He's done it with what Elon Musk is doing with Doge. He's been cutting spending, and I think they're going to continue to do that. They're finding ridiculous waste of money. But what he's done with his blueprint is to show there's so much waste, and he's going to do everything he can to get this budget balanced. Now, it's our job in the House and the Senate to work with the president to get the spending under control so we can get inflation under control and we can get interest rates down. So this is the beginning of controlling the spending, but we're going to do it through our budget process and through the reconciliation process.
Okay, so let's go through some of the specifics here. I have not had a chance to study it. I've had a very busy weekend with our Turning Point USA supporters going all over the place. What would be the annualized deficit of this budget if President Trump gets his way and Congress approves the budget?
Well, what the president wants to do is actually balance the budget. He's got a short-term plan to balance the budget. So part of it is going to be, it doesn't make any sense because your family doesn't do it this way, but we have things that are mandatory that we don't even review, like Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid. And then we have discretionary things like defense spending and NPR, PBS, things like that we focus on every year. Now, what we should be doing is look at all parts of the budget. In the reconciliation process, we're going to be going through the mandatory parts of the budget. And in the budget process, which we have to have done by September 30, we'll be going through the discretionary part. So as I talk to Russ Vought, who runs the Office of Management and Budget for the president, I'll be meeting with this week, is their goal is to very quickly balance the budget, but they know they have to work with the House and the Senate. So hopefully, here's where we need to get down to. My opinion, this year we need to get down to about a $6.5 billion total spend, discretionary and mandatory. That will get us down to hopefully less than $1 trillion deficit, with the goal that over 3 years we balance the budget. Now, if it was me and it was President Trump, we'd balance the budget right now. We think we'll collect about $5.5 trillion. We'll see what he collects through the tariff process, but we think that we'll collect at least $5.5 trillion. So we need to get our spending down. Now, is that possible? Absolutely. We've seen a 53% increase in spending in 5 years and only a 2% increase in population. If we actually went back, all right, and stopped growing the budget and just grew the budget, like, let's say since Barack Obama left or since Bill Clinton left, just based on population and inflation, we would have a balanced budget right now. I mean, the Democrats have just thrown money like crazy, and they've taken money and made it mandatory, which means we don't even review it every year. So it's going to be a lot of work, but I know the president's committed to this. So hopefully we'll get down to less than $1 trillion this year deficit and with a balanced budget within 3 years.
So let me ask you a question, Senator, and this is just me representing a lot of the questions of the audience. I love our military. I know that you're a big Navy guy. I see you wear that hat all the time, and you're very proud of that. There's certainly a lot of waste in every government department, including the Pentagon. In this proposed budget, President Trump wants to have the first $1 trillion defense budget. It would increase spending by 13%. To be honest, I'm a little bit, let's just say I need to be won over on this because I think that there's a lot of waste in the Department of Defense. It's nothing against our veterans or our military, the greatest military ever. What would be your argument, if you agree with it? I mean, I'm not sure if you do, of why we need to increase defense spending right now.
Well, what you ought to be doing, Charlie, is doing exactly what you do with your family budget. You review everything. So we should be going through line by line through the defense budget like we do every other budget and say, is that a must-have or is that a nice-to-have? We also need to see how can we get things done less expensively. So I was just over in Denmark, Finland, and Estonia 2 weeks ago. And one of the things I did was I met with shipbuilders over there to say, okay, so can you do it less expensively than what we do it here? We need icebreakers. Can you build them cheaper than we can? Do you have technology on shipbuilding that you can bring to the United States so we can get things done quicker? So what we have to do is we have to stop saying we're going to do everything and say, okay, so let's prepare for what our problems. Our biggest problem right now is China. So what do we need to do to prepare for China and spend our money that way, build our budget up that way? I think there's lots of, Charlie, I agree with you. There's lots of savings.
I'm glad to hear that. And I also, the best argument, again, I'm still a little bit skeptical because I'm such a fiscal hawk. The best argument would be that it's a signal to the world that the dollar is safe because the dollar is largely backed by the supremacy and the superiority of the United States military. People feel safe because they know that if anything were to happen, the United States military can intervene and do so better than any other organization, any other country. Let's also talk about Medicaid. And so from what I understand, what Speaker Johnson put forward was to try to remove the cap limit where you have to spend a certain amount of money on Medicaid in a certain state to then trigger the federal money to come in and basically do block grants. This is being met with a lot of advertising against Republicans want to cut Medicaid and a lot of misinformation. Can you please educate the audience on what is the ideal plan for Medicaid and where you stand on this issue?
Okay. So I used to run the largest hospital company in the country. All right. There are so many ways to deliver healthcare less expensive than we do it. So here's some of the things we're doing wrong, in my opinion. Number one, we shouldn't be covering people that don't want to even look for a job. If you don't want to even look for a job, then why are we giving you free public housing, food stamps, healthcare, any of that? So that's number one. Number two, it's supposed to be a match program, but what's actually happened is states have taken advantage of the program, and now it's become, most of it is, all the growth is in federal spending because they've used provider taxes to dramatically increase the federal spending, but not the state spending. It's supposed to be a match. Next, the match between the states is tied to the income levels of the state. Well, places like California and New York, they're guaranteed 50% match when their average income is way higher than a state like Mississippi or Alabama or things like that. So we should do it based on real income levels, right? Then we shouldn't. Then the other thing you have to do is you have to fix the delivery system, right? You shouldn't say, oh, for the exact same procedure, I'll pay you more in an inpatient setting than an outpatient setting. So there are so many ways to reduce the cost. Now, we clearly shouldn't be covering people here illegally, all right? And then, so you got to have a work requirement. You got to have skin in the game. We've got to make this a program that you have to work to get this. You don't get it just because you don't feel like going to work. So there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money to be saved in the Medicaid program. And actually, when I was governor, I told Trump was president the last few years I was governor. I said, if you give us and allow us to spend the money the way we want to spend the money, you don't have to give us as much money. We will be able to. You have so many foolish rules that I have to comply with that cause the cost of Medicaid to go up. And so if you got rid of those rules, I could drive down the cost of Medicaid for the state and ultimately for the federal government.
So about a minute remaining here, Senator, and thank you for taking the time here. Do Republicans have the backbone and the spine to fix Medicaid, as you have suggested, and improve it, despite all of the media lies and the Democrats' misleading framing of what Republicans are trying to do? Do your colleagues have the capacity to get this done? Please, 1 minute remaining.
Okay. Charlie, I'm hopeful. I'm responsible for the Wednesday lunch. I brought in an individual, Taryn Bragdon, last week. He came in and explained all the different ways that we could save money in the Medicaid program. I'm optimistic. It starts with the House, so we'll see what they're going to do. They're not going to do it this week now. They're going to do it next week. But we have to do this. We have to do this. Our interest rates are not coming down. Inflation is not coming down. And we're allowing people to take advantage of the program that's not fair to the American public that's out there working every day.
Senator, thank you so much. You're always welcome. Keep fighting hard. And let me just communicate something from the audience. Please find ways to cut spending. We are careening towards bankruptcy. No one wants to talk about it. We love the tax cuts. We love the tax cuts. We love the tax cuts. But it will all be for nothing if we are posting $2 or $3 trillion deficits. So please just know with conviction, and we are empowering you here on this program to go back to your colleagues and say, guys, the people want spending cuts. We need to live within our means and shrink the size of government. Senator, thank you so much.
Like every family, Charlie. Like every family does.
Absolutely. That's right. Exactly. Thank you.